Doesn't begin until a road team wins, then there is no series. If you like really close series where it comes down to 3 games to win 2, then this is the series for you, because that's where we are in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, and, both games have played out very similarly in that both teams had a chance in what I call 50-50 games to win a game on the road. Mm-hmm. Neither did, and then the other game, the home team emphatically won. And
right.
So now it does come down to a best 2 out of 3. And when you're an experienced team, which Toronto is, if you think about it, you got Kawhi Leonard, who's MVP of the finals. Danny Green's a world champion. Mm-hmm. Marc Gasol's played in a lot of playoff games over the course of his career. Serge Ibaka. They've got a lot of tried and true veteran guys. They understand, like in a 7-game series, we know we got to win one there. Yeah, we'd like to win 1 or 2 or game 5.
Sure.
We got 4 chances. And generally with each game, you should get a little more comfortable playing on the road in that environment. You have a rhythm and a cadence to the game. And so right now, if you're Toronto, you feel really good because your scheme defensively, even though Chris Middleton and Giannis play well, no one else really had much of an impact.
Right.
Eric Bledsoe has been a no-show in this postseason. That's basically 2 postseasons in a row in a lot of ways. And so their inability to make shots from the perimeter, particularly at that position, Malcolm Brogdon struggled as well. It's going to be a challenge for them. You would hope they're going to have that home cooking and guys will get their rhythm like we saw with Fred VanVleet tonight and how he and Serge Ibaka bounced back. But Toronto now is going to go to Milwaukee with a tremendous amount of confidence, knowing that, hey, if we get Game 5, we got a chance to close it out on our home floor, which as the team that doesn't have home court, that's like a 7th game.
Sure.
If you have that chance.
You just pulled a Bill Walton on me. You went like 2.5 minutes before I even introduced you.
Yeah, well, I'm hyped.
That's Greg Anthony. That's Jason Terry right over there. I'm Matt.
Someone might have
No introduction needed.
No.
I don't know what point I was going to make. What are your thoughts on Game 4 here tonight? Toronto got contributions from their bench was huge tonight on a night when Kawhi Leonard was effective in a lot of ways, but didn't really seem to have his best stuff, as they say in baseball. Didn't really seem to have his fastball, if you will.
Well, Toronto came out with the mindset of we are going to be the aggressor. If you look at the head of the snake, and that's Kyle Lowry, he scored 12 of their first 24 points in the first quarter. He came out very dominant. He hit open shots. He made plays. GA talked about his presence on the glass. Just the little things is how Kyle Lowry put his imprint on this game tonight. And then the contribution from the bench, 48 bench points. Serge Ibaka in the second quarter had about 3 offensive rebounds that were momentum-type plays that took their lead from 6 to 11. And then nobody for the Milwaukee Bucks bench were in double figures.
It was the opposite of Game 3 when they were great. The bench was great in that game, kind of kept them in it.
Yeah, and it kept them in it. But, again, VanVleet tonight, he finally found his rhythm from 3. Norman Powell has been the most consistent and productive bench player throughout these playoffs. He got up 18 shots tonight, only had 18 points, but those were big, big points from him. They'll need to get that same consistency when they go into Milwaukee. As you know, bench players, GA, I was one, you were one at a certain period of time. You are most comfortable at home. Right? Now you go on the road, it's just a little different. The hoops are still 10 feet.
Yeah, why is that, by the way?
But I don't know. The hoops are still 10 feet.
I've been asking this question for 15 years now, and I still don't get it.
It's just, go ahead,
You know what I think part of it is, generally the bench players aren't the stars.
Sure.
And, so we need confidence to help us get our rhythm and get into a flow. Like, your stars, they can miss 5 or 6 shots early in the game. It doesn't change who they are and their approach. We still expect them, and they know we need them to impact the game. For us, though, we generally aren't going to get 18 shots.
No.
Like in a game when you come off the bench, unless you're making a lot of shots.
Right.
And so you tend to, when you're home, you got the crowd behind you, you feed off of that, you get that energy, and you do know those opportunities will be there, but you've played in that arena an exponential amount of times compared to being on the road.
Right.
You know where your spots are going to be. You tend to be a quarter step quicker. Because you got more confidence, and that does play a role in it. And that's a big part of it. I always felt that way.
I mean, it's true. You see it play out throughout the playoffs. It's definitely a thing. I've never completely understood it, but that makes sense.
And some of it is because you're younger.
If you're a starter and you're a star, you've got the green light, right? You're not worried about how many shots you're going to get off. But to your point, you're going to have limited minutes as a guy coming off the bench. And maybe, particularly if you're a scorer coming off the bench, if you don't have it that night, you may not be in the game that long.
May not be in the game. You look at George Hill tonight, played 26 minutes. To your point, GA, just didn't get the attempts. Yeah. He's 1 for 2.
Right.
He's been their leading scorer off the bench in the playoffs, averaging almost 15 points a game. So, again, just not those attempts. You know he'll get many more opportunities at home, which he did in games 1 and game 2.
Malcolm Brogdon, 2 of 11 off the bench as well. He's been really good for them. Here's Mike Budenholzer as the series heads back to Milwaukee. Live look at Toronto. Raptors are 6-2 on their home floor in the postseason. It'll be a great scene inside and, of course, outside as well at Jurassic Park. TNT and the Emmy Award-winning Inside the NBA crew have the coverage at the top of the hour, including Shaquille O'Neal. Congratulations to you and everybody else on the show on the Emmy last night.
Thank you very much. You know, it's a great place to work. I miss working with you guys. I love the Jet. I love Greg Anthony. I was just telling Greg, how does he feel that his son dunked on me, but he never dunked on me because he was a terrible player. The statute of limitations is up now. He was a terrible player. He was overpaid. He was overrated. Pat Riley made him who he is on the defensive end. What's up?
I'm a little hurt.
Love you guys.
I'm a little hurt that you don't love me as well. You love the Jet. You love Greg. Nonetheless,
Man, I saved the best for last.
He's going to take you in the commercial, though.
Some look at this series, Shaq, and say, all right, wait a minute. The Raptors needed 2 overtimes at home when Giannis had 12 points to get a win. On the other hand, Toronto had game 1 in hand before they let it get away over the last couple of minutes. Where do you stand on where we stand in the Eastern Conference Finals?
It's kind of a different situation, but believe it or not, it's a must-win for both teams. On the Milwaukee side, you don't want to give the Toronto Raptors confidence, right? You had them down 0-2. You had them in double overtime. Giannis didn't play his best game, and, you know, they had to squeak to get a win. So, you know, right now they're a little bit more confident. If they get the win tonight, they'll be more confident. Then it's the best out of 3. Anything can happen. Now, if you're Toronto, you don't want to go down 3-1. We want to say, okay, maybe we got lucky the last game, but, you know, we know what we have to do. We have to keep Giannis to 12, and we have to just, you know, make some smaller adjustments. You know, guys like Marc Gasol and Danny Green, they just have to continue to be aggressive.
Yeah, big fella. Speaking of Marc Gasol and Danny Green, Fred VanVleet, you know, those 3 guys have really struggled throughout the series. Obviously, Gasol had a great game in Game 3, but Danny Green and VanVleet have yet to find their range from long range. Is there any concern from a Raptors perspective if those guys are going to be able to get it going this series?
Well, you know, if you're playing at your worst, there's only a couple places to go. You know, hopefully they can catch fire. I used to always, you know, tell my shooters, hey, man, keep shooting. I'm going to keep kicking it to you. Leave it when you shoot. I knew a guy by the name of Jason Eugene Terry. Every time he shot, he left it. All the great shooters leave it. Just leave it. And, you know, Danny Green, we know he's an impact player, especially in the playoffs. Hasn't found his range yet. But if, and it's a big if he can find that range, then, you know, maybe, you know, Toronto can get back on track.
Big fella, talk a little bit about, you touched upon it with Matt, the psychology of a 7-game series and how each game takes on a life of its own. You know, like, it doesn't really matter what happened in Game 3, how you won or how you lost, but you won it. And now it's like you got a clean slate in the next game. And so talk about that mindset that you and your teams experience when you go into situations where, like you talked about it, this is in essence a must-win.
Well, let me tell you about the championship formula, especially when you have home court advantage. You say, okay, the first 2 home games, we got to win. We got to be comfortable on the road. Now, when we go play Game 3, let's get this game, right? So adjustments will be made after that game. If you win that game, we say, all right, let's close it out. If we lose that game, then we say, okay, you know, we don't want this thing to be tied up. We got to get Game 4. So, you know, the perfect way to think about it is you win all your home games and you steal a game on the road. That's how, you know, most championship teams think. But you can't be playing around with guys. Once you have people down, you have to keep them down. So this is a must-win for Milwaukee and a must-win for Toronto tonight.
Well, Toronto's got to feel good if they can keep it close again because of Kawhi Leonard, who may be the best closer in this series. He had 36 in Game 3. He scored more points than anybody in the postseason so far. What's impressed you most about his playoffs?
I like his game because, a Mark and Jet will understand this. He's the guy in the park. Doesn't have a lot of herky-jerky moves, but he's like the old guy in the park. You just can't stop him. No matter what he does, you just can't stop him. He definitely has an old man's game. I love the way he plays. Definitely plays the right way. I love his story because it's a story of a guy that wasn't really a high draft pick but worked his way to the top. We all know he started out in San Antonio with the system. Greg Popovich was always, taking players that we don't know about and made them great players. And, he's a top 5 player in this league because of hard work and, his mentality. So I love the way he's been playing. Really fun to watch. But I have to disagree with you, Matt, about keeping it close. If I'm Toronto, I want to blow this team out tonight.
Well, sure. Ideally, yeah. That would be better, wouldn't it? A blowout win is better than a close one. I can't disagree with you there. That's Shaquille O'Neal doing his work north of the border tonight. We'll see you at the top of the hour on TNT.
Matt, I love your beard. If I was there, I would kiss you. I kissed Matt, and I liked it. And
I look forward to that. I will see you in the finals, so maybe that happens. I don't know. We'll see.
Yes, you will.
All right, talk to you soon. All right, Antetokounmpo and the Bucks. Figure
When did he kiss
you're
you?
taking the over on 12, right?
When did he kiss you?
He didn't.
You sure? That's what he just sung. He said, I kissed Matt.
I think it was a prediction.
Oh.
GameTime Crew obviously very hard at work getting set for
DJ
their
at
pregame
home.
coverage.
Back in his hood.
No, he's in Toronto.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He got people there, too.
Sure.
Hey.
Everywhere's his hood, right?
He's a man of the people.
Congratulations, by the way, on the Sports Emmy last night for Ernie Johnson,
well-deserved
outstanding
honor for the crew.
studio host.
Well-deserved.
Yeah, good for
That's
him.
a team award, too. That's really
Is it?
Yeah.
They all get the trophy? I thought.
Well,
he
yeah,
gets
it's like
that.
the MVP. That's a reflection of the team.
Okay.
He got a little bit of that MVP Dirk got.
Right.
He got a little piece of that.
You got a little chunk of that
I got
too?
the V.
Great scene outside in Toronto. Let's go inside and hear from head coach Nick Nurse.
Evening, everybody. Start with Doug down front and to your right, Coach.
Nick, Doug Smith, the Toronto Star. Yesterday you said Kawhi was rested and a little bit sore. Is there any update on his health? And how do you think he'll adapt to playing 52 minutes and coming back and playing 44 hours later?
Well, we're gonna have to see. I think Doug, but I think he's, I saw him pretty early yesterday, and he was pretty, I think, positive. He was still tired from the night before, but he said it's a long way to game time, and I got some rest too, and then I'll be ready to go. So, it looks good so far. We'll see. But I think Doug. I think he's, I've listened to some of the stuff he said too, and he's like, it's playoffs, man. Everybody's a little sore, and nobody's 100%, and everybody's getting banged around a little bit. So this is part of the deal if you want to advance in the playoffs.
To John, just right behind Doug, Coach.
Coach John Schumann, NBA.com. You switched his minutes from resting at the start of the second and fourth to the end of the first and third, it seems like. Was that just to match up with Antetokounmpo, or was it something different?
It was just a little different. We just wanted to give ourselves a little bit different rotation to start the second and the fourth was primarily it, and we just trying to it didn't work out very good the other night. We're trying to not make the stretches quite as long. I think I mentioned before the game we're trying to shoot for 10 minutes. As a long stretch instead of, I don't know what it turned into the other night. It was 10 straight there in overtime, and probably 22 straight, something like that. It's a little over 10, but that was difficult circumstances.
To Eric, Coach in the middle, to your left.
Eric Corrine, The Athletic. With how dangerous they are and have been in transition, do you tweak your offensive rebounding approach or rules, if you have them at all, and mention that to your guys?
I think so, Eric. I think, I think way back at the beginning of this series, I said that our offense was probably the key to our defense, right? And taking care of the ball, getting a rhythm shot selection, and then our decision on who went and how many went and all that things. And I think, we're kind of tweaking that each and every game as we see opportunities to go. I mean, we still want to go. We think we got some guys that can offensive rebound, Serge, Pascal, Kawhi especially. When we're big, we think we got some chances to go. But it's got to be a quick decision. If you think you got a, legitimate shot at it, go for it. And if you don't, you got to start making an assertive move to get back. And, again, you know why. There just isn't a whole lot of dividends if you go in there and you don't get one and you're paying the price on the other end. If you go chase one and don't get it and they get a transition 3 on you, then you're going to have to get 2 more offensive rebounds to make up for that, right? So the payoff on it is really all you're thinking about. Is it paying off to go or not?
To Eric.
Eric named The Athletic. And Nick, we've obviously this whole series talked about it's not a one-man job on Kawhi or Giannis, and no matter who it is. But what do you like specifically about Kawhi as that first defender for Giannis?
Well, I mean, I think what Kawhi brings, regardless of who he's guarding on or he's matched up on. Excuse me. He's got great size. He's got great strength. He's got a really good instinct to play defense as well. So he's showing you a lot by just presenting himself in front of you. He's got good feet. And, I think probably, I'm going to say this fourth, but he probably should be first. Like, he wants to stop you. And that goes a long way. And those are 4 pretty good things.
Another one from John, Coach, down to your right.
Coach, I have another rotation question. You had opportunities in the fourth and overtime the other night to go to the 2 bigs together, which you did in the fourth quarter of a couple of your close games in the previous series. Is there a reason that didn't come about this time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, again, you always go into the game with some ideas of things you're going to work or some things that you're going to try that you're going to evaluate quickly. And I guess my only answer for that is I just wasn't feeling that as a good lineup at the particular time. And I felt like the rest of it was pretty good. I think, we were getting really good play out of Norman, right? Pascal was playing great. Mark was playing great. Freddie, even though he didn't shoot it great, played great. I mean, he got put in a situation where he had to lead his team for at least 6 minutes plus 16 straight minutes as the point guard, and I thought he got us into execution stuff really well, and he defended really well. And I guess I just wasn't feeling the big lineup. I thought we were going to have to get to it in the overtime because I think we had at least 2 more guys on 5 fouls. So I was ready to go with it again, and that's just try to get your best players on the floor. But I just think that Fred, Norm, Pascal were impacting and Mark were impacting the game so great, and there was one other guy out there, Kawhi. So you just weren't going to take those guys out.
To Dan.
Nick,
Serious business strategy and whatnot being discussed inside, and outside, they're still playing catch.